I got my parents on the phone with them, and the doctor said that it was cancer. And I remember he said that, and my heart just shattered. My whole world turned upside down. I didn't know what to do. I remember telling my mom, can you write stuff down? I need a minute. And I remember putting the phone on mute and just falling to the floor crying. My name is Brittany Christiansen. I am from Utah, Salt Lake City. I was diagnosed with Rhabdomyosarcoma, and I was diagnosed in 2024. I would say it's definitely a big learning experience, and it comes with its challenges, but ultimately I feel as if it has grown me into the person that I've become, and I'm thankful for it. I started noticing a little sharp lump on my jaw on the right side back in May of 2024. And so we were getting a little worried, so we thought that we would go get it checked out. And we went to the doctor, and they said, oh, it might just be a cyst. Leave it for a couple of weeks, see what it does, and then come back if it's grown. Well, we did that, and it grew, and so they decided to biopsy it, and as soon as they poked a needle in it, it just blew up and just completely expanded. It was on July 9th of 2024 at 5:30 p.m. actually. And I remember I was closing up the shop for my boss, and I remember getting a phone call, and it was from the doctor, and he said, I have the results of your biopsy. And so I immediately was like, can I put my parents on the phone, just because I didn't know how I would react, and I needed to make sure I got all the information. So I got my parents on the phone with them, and the doctor said that it was cancer. And I remember he said that, and my heart just shattered. My whole world turned upside down. I didn't know what to do. I remember telling my mom, can you write stuff down? I need a minute. And I remember putting the phone on mute and just falling to the floor crying at work, because I remember just falling to the floor crying, just like trying to catch my breath, hyperventilating, like not knowing what to do. And so then once I was able to finally catch my breath, I got back on the phone with the doctor, and he was like, it's rhabdomyosarcoma. It's more of a kid tumor. And then they started explaining everything that it was. But it was very difficult to get home that day. At first, when I got diagnosed, we went to this one oncologist out in Intermountain, and he didn't give me very many options. He was just kind of like, this is the regimen, you're going to have to go on chemotherapy. He didn't give me any specifics, but he was like, you're going to have to go on chemotherapy for an extensive period of time. And something just didn't feel right about that doctor, so we wanted to get a second opinion. So we decided to go to primaries, and we talked to the child oncologist, because the rhabdomyosarcoma, it's a child cancer. So it's weird that it's, in me, because I'm a little bit older. But I remember, we went and met up with my oncologist now, and he gave me about 3 different options for chemotherapy treatment. He was, just kind of talking about longevity of like saving my ovaries and trying to preserve my body the best it possibly could. I did fertility preservation at the very beginning. That was very painful. I did not like doing that. But yeah, I had to do fertility preservation, and I had to take shots that basically made it like I was pregnant to open up all my follicles. And then they did the egg retrieval, and they actually got a good amount. So I have that option, which is really awesome. After I talked to the oncologist and we decided which type of chemotherapy we would do, we did the one that was the least harmful to my ovaries, so I could have the best chance at having kids. So we did that, and then as soon as we decided to do that regimen, we had to get my port placed. So I had to get a port placement surgery. So I remember getting scheduled for that, and I got that port placement, And then as soon as I got the port placement, I was put in inpatient so that I could receive my first round of chemotherapy. So I remember staying in inpatient about 3 days, and they gave me chemotherapy, and I that had to be one of the worst weeks of my life. I was so, like, I was nauseated, I was throwing up, I was tired. I couldn't do anything. I really couldn't do anything. Like, I was on the floor, like, I couldn't eat anything. I lost a lot of weight actually at the beginning. And so, yeah, and so then after that, they just had me come back every week to get more chemotherapy. And it's been like that up until probably December or it was like that up until about October. And they did scans on it, and they realized that the chemotherapy wasn't working on the tumor at all. It only had about 5% necrosis, which is dead tissue. And so, yeah, I remember they did that, and then they decided, after they knew that the chemotherapy wasn't working, they decided to do surgery to get it removed. So the tumor itself was actually about the size of an egg in my face. It was really big. On October 28th, 2024, they decided to do surgery, and they removed the tumor from my jaw, which actually ended up dislocating my jaw. And they had to cut, there was a nerve that was running right through the tumor down here, and so this whole part of my face is paralyzed. So they had to do that, and then they took the tumor out and they got it biopsied, and so they had to take out the whole right side of my jaw. So I have a titanium jaw. And they took muscle and bone out of my left leg and they put it in my face. That's why I have this fat right here. And so they did that. And then I had about a month to heal from surgery. And then starting December, they had me do radiation for a month. And so they radiated this whole side right here. Radiation didn't do anything. It just killed my salivary glands. So that was kind of rough. But once that radiation month was very difficult. I would say it was probably the most difficult out of everything. It was awful. So we did radiation, and then after that, they wanted me to keep going on more chemotherapy just to make sure everything was gone, because I was technically in remission at that point. And then after that, about February, we did more scans, and the oncologist had told me that the cancer had metastasized into my lungs, had spread into my lungs. And so from there, we didn't really know what to do, because not only had I already tried all the harshest chemotherapies and radiation and surgery, but nothing was working. So they didn't really know what to do other than a clinical trial. And so we decided to do a clinical trial, and I did about 4 cycles of that. And then that kind of brings us to now. I've decided to get off of it, go a more holistic route, because I just don't want to live my life this way. I can't live a good life, doing it. It just makes everything so much harder. I'm constantly so tired. I can't walk up a flight of stairs without being completely winded. And yeah, and I would have body aches everywhere. There's less symptoms with the most recent chemotherapy, but overall it just completely destroys my quality of life. I am getting another surgery. I actually get scans next week to start planning for my surgery, to put my jaw back into place, shave some of this fat down, and see if there's anything we can do about the paralyzation down here. And we're planning to do that as early in June as possible. It's going to put my jaw back into place, shave some of this fat down so my face looks more symmetrical, and then put some of my teeth back into place, and maybe try to see if we can do anything about the nerve damage down here. He recommended either continue on the clinical trial or radiate my lungs, but I don't. I think that's a terrible idea, so I don't want to do that. But he basically had the talk, was like, this is kind of the end of treatment. I'm not really sure what else to do. He just wants me to come. He knows that I'm done, doing chemotherapy and any of that kind of stuff. So he knows I'm going to go my own route. And so he just wants me to come back every 3 months for scans to see if they're shrinking, what's happening, just to make sure that I'm okay. Honestly, it's very scary. I have kind of been told what to do my entire life, whether that's by friends, family, significant others. So I have always had a really hard time making decisions for myself. So making such big decisions about something so impactful and so big in my life, it's really terrifying. But at the same time, it's very exhilarating because, I'm taking my life back into my own hands and I get to decide what I want to do. And it's both scary and exhilarating. I'm really thankful that I get the opportunity to do this, but sometimes I wish that others would decide for me. I've been through a lot of physical pain with this, but the psychological has been the absolute worst. It definitely shows you, who really cares about you and who's really there for you. I've had a lot of struggles with my family going through this, which has been, I think, the hardest part about it. But yeah, I just knowing that I can be better and do better and live a better life, but there's something constantly pulling me back to where I can't. It's very hard because I'm a very active. I love to go, I love to go to the gym. I love to go do things. I love to be out in nature, and taking all these regimens and stuff, it literally completely debilitates me from doing anything. Like, I can't work anymore. I can't, like, sometimes it's even hard to clean the house. I honestly miss my strength, physically and mentally. But also I'm a lot stronger mentally now than I used to be, but I definitely had more of a spunk in my personality beforehand, and this kind of killed it. My boyfriend is a huge help, biggest supporter. I couldn't talk about him enough. I love him so much. I appreciate him so much. He's completely turned his life upside down to take care of me and make sure I heal and get through this. And his friends have rallied around me trying to figure out ways to cure me too. And he carries me through everything. He carried me through all of this. I owe my life to him. Not literally, but I actually feel better about getting off of these treatments and going a more holistic route. I'm very excited to take my life back into my own hands, and I'm very excited to start living again, and I've kind of gotten to the point where these tumors in my lungs are so small that I could, live the rest of my life with them in there and everything be fine. I just have to do a radical diet and lifestyle change, which I have already, and I have a lot of hope. I want to live a long, full life, and I think that that's what's going to happen. And if it doesn't, well, I hope I made an impact while I was here. Never give up. Ever. Even when all hope is lost, don't give up. Don't let fear take over. That is your number one enemy. Do not let fear take over. Also, do not let all these doctors scare you into thinking that you only have so many options. There are thousands of options out there that you can heal from. So just don't let fear get in the way.